Hello, Michelle, and thank you for spending the time here. You're the next episode of our Student Spotlight series. How's it going?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I am pretty good this morning, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, excited to kind of just chat, and this is a chance for you to tell your story so the other students get to know a little bit more about Michelle. We just did one on another Michelle, and
Saw that one.
we have so many Michelles in the program, but you're Michelle B. Yeah,
Yeah.
what's your background? What's your story?
Um, oh, my story. I'm a CPA CA, so I am financially literate. I understand, dividends, interest income, all those things, the tax implications from them. But my kryptonite has always been investing and how to invest and what to invest in and how to build a portfolio. And so I don't even know how I happened on to your
Come across our stuff, yeah.
YouTube, but I watched your video on your website, and I'm a big fan of Warren Buffett as well. And you're, talking about how the stock market is kind of, it has its trends, it has its dips, it has its gains.
Mhm.
And also, you can be as conservative as you want to be,
Yeah.
and hold stocks for the long term.
Yep.
And it just resonated with me, as well as at the time going through COVID. Right now, I work with small businesses. I'm a part-time CFO for small businesses,
Well,
and so watching,
what they're going through.
is having, and I know everybody hates the word pivot, but the the businesses that have been successful are the ones that have found different revenue streams.
Hmm.
So that is something that I wanted for myself personally, because I think just as you teach how you want everybody to be an investor, I want to teach everybody how to be an entrepreneur.
Wow.
And so finding those different revenue streams for my RSPs. I mean, I've invested in the past in RSPs, but I've always just gone to the financial advisor and,
Yeah.
hey, here's this mutual fund. And yeah, my risk, I'm risk averse and all these things. And there's no, I had no idea there was such a thing as an exchange traded fund. I had
Hmm.
no idea that, you could get a bond ETF and that could be your portion of your bonds.
Right.
So I think, just having that knowledge from the course has given me the confidence to go forward. And I used the portfolio builder spreadsheet
Yeah.
from the academy, and I just completed my whole portfolio just
Way to
this
go.
last couple of weeks. So yeah.
Wow. Way to go. It feels so much better when you have like a plan behind it, right? And you kind of know what parts are going in the right place. There's so many people out there that don't have that plan, and you can just imagine how jumbled up. Like there's no like togetherness, I guess you could say, right? The dots don't connect. But as you said, so many people rely on their advisor or they don't really know what they're doing. But once you take the time to learn, it's not rocket science, right? It's just that these options maybe weren't, you just didn't know about them. But then
Yeah.
when you do see like, hey, these are an alternative that probably is way better for me. And I love what you said there. It really comes down to confidence, because even someone like yourself who clearly is intelligent in your own respective field, that doesn't necessarily mean that you know what you're talking about with investing. I think that's such a common thread. And I love how you kind of started off with saying, hey, I know what I know about this part of finance, but that doesn't carry over really to investing.
I can do the bookkeeping on investments portfolios. I was in public practice
That's
for
your wheelhouse, exactly.
so it's it's simple when you're doing it. I understand all of it, but to actually go forward and build my own portfolio was this whole other beast.
Yeah.
And so for me, the amount of knowledge that has come from the academy, and let's face it, there, the gatekeepers, there's no such thing as gatekeepers anymore.
Mm.
Everybody has the ability to go and find the knowledge they need to make the decisions they want to make. And now with the platforms that are available through Questrade, through Wealthsimple, through TD, like everybody has the ability to do that. At the same time, what I appreciate about the Academy is you also talk about how, you know, there is a time that you can work with a certified financial planner or a financial advisor. This isn't about, you know, everybody's just going to do it themselves and, you know, no, because, you know, I have an appreciation for professional knowledge. There is a time and a place to use professionals, because it just, at the same time, you can, you know, you can collaborate with your CFP or your financial advisor. Ask the question, you know, my risk level is here. Why are we investing in this? Or, you know, take the time to look at your portfolio and go, you know what, this isn't really in the direction that I want to go. How can we change this? So
tell me about it. Like, as you said that, like, I think about it. I pay my accountant a lot of money every year, but he saves me so much more money by actually providing a great service. So it's, and you know all about that. It's not, you don't want to look at it in terms of like, oh, I'm just spending this much money. If you can spend this much money on a professional service and they can provide you with this much value, well, absolutely. You have to kind of train your mind to think like that. A lot of people don't. You could go out, I could go out and do all my taxes all by myself, and I'd probably mess it up. I'd make all sorts of mistakes, and I'd probably end up owing so much more money than I should. So
one of my favorite quotes is from, you know, Warren Buffett: price is what you pay, value is what you get.
That's so true in like all aspects of life.
Yes. And, you know, and that's the other side of doing this portfolio, building the portfolio. You just have to start. You can't you're not going to have the perfect portfolio, the perfect stock at the perfect price, and not, you know, and a lot of folks, you know, I hear, oh, I don't want to pay the fees. And it's like, you know what? You got to spend money to make money. So spend the $5 for Wealthsimple to purchase the stock and see it rise. Like
that's so amazing. It's so amazing because so many people find themselves in that paralysis by analysis period for too long, right? Even if you do have the knowledge, like, it's insane, Michelle, how many people tell me like, yeah, I'm just waiting for that right time, or I'm waiting to feel comfortable. Meanwhile, if you would have jumped in a few months ago, a year ago, like, then you're gaining that real experience of actually doing it. You got your money compounding, you got your money growing. It's very, very easy to push it off if you just come up with all these different reasons. And it's not people's fault. It's a very scary thing to do. Like, that's, especially if you're not confident, bringing back to what you said, like, you don't want to just dive in without knowing, because there's real money on the line.
And my whole impression of the stock market before was movies like The Wolf of Wall Street or Short, right? And it's all of these things. It's like, you know, even yes, I have as much knowledge as I have, but I'd be like, this isn't me. But then when, you know, you talk in your video and how it's like, you know, you see these trends and you can see them. I mean, you can go onto the Yahoo app and I can see, you know, that's one of the first things I look at is that trend. Look at that trend line. I go to the 5-year and I look back, because right now, the 1 year, it's an anomaly, in my opinion. Like, the last year has been an anomaly. So to look at a last year trend, it probably isn't going to do you much good, because you're all going to see the big dip in 2020, you know, March of 2020. And then all of a sudden, all these companies, because in my opinion as well, you know, we're in this bull market and they're just like going up, right? So anyway.
I love that. Well, that's like, to hear what you're saying. I mean, it's right in line with what we teach. And hey, maybe you had these, you know, concepts in your mind before, but like, I couldn't be more proud to hear that you relaying that information, because that's exactly the way to look at it, right? Very rational, very like level-minded. So that's amazing, Michelle. A question I have for you, you mentioned there's something about being risk adverse and being, you know, hey, maybe not a huge risk taker. So where did you find yourself? I mean, and don't have to share anything too uncomfortable that you don't want to, but like, was it a big realization to you that you can build your portfolio tailored to what you want, in terms of, like you mentioned, maybe bond ETFs, maybe having a higher percentage? Where did you maybe fall on that spectrum? Because I know there's a lot of investors who are like, you know, I'm not comfortable with the big swings in the market. I'm not, I don't want to be a risk taker. Does that mean the stock market is still for me? Maybe you can share some thoughts there.
Well, I mean, I am investor B. Anybody who's taken the course understands what investor B is.
Yeah.
I'm 5 years old. I'm a professional. I'm at the 60-40 kind of split for
Beautiful.
how I'm doing my portfolio. When I first started, my first purchases were ETFs. It was all ETFs. It was based on as well from the course,
Yeah.
how to diversify. And so once I got comfortable with that, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to fricking go for it. So then I started buying stocks, but stocks that I know aren't going to suddenly disappear tomorrow. For
Right.
example, Fortis. I'm also, I just went to the Dividend Yin webinar.
Yep.
I'm also looking for stocks that provide a dividend because I want to make income while I sleep.
Beautiful.
So I would look at the trend. I would also look at what kind of company they are, if they've been here for a long time. I watched your videos and then looked at Yahoo and I was like, okay, I can buy into something like this. And then as I went along throughout this year, it's still going for stocks that I believe will be here, 5, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, or who have been here for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean, there is always a risk in everything. There's a risk in anything that we do, but it's a matter of, okay, well, it's not like I'm putting in $10,000 when I'm purchasing a stock. I'm purchasing, usually what I've been doing is I have my own company and I do an RRSP contribution match through my payroll. And so every pay period, I've got my amount and I go and I look at, okay, what did I want? What do I want to buy? And what is kind of in a bit of a dip position, or even still, they're small enough purchases that, isn't going to break my bank, isn't going to make me broke or, I'm detrimental.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where it's a benefit is just, start small. You don't have to buy hundreds of stock in a company at a time.
Yeah.
I buy most of mine. I've bought 3 or 4, and I'm sure people be like, "Oh, that's ridiculous." But at the end of the day, it's kind of, the quote that I always hear from Darwin or Tomas or yourself or other folks in the academy is just, it's not timing the market; it's time in the market.
Yeah.
And you can start small and you make those gains and you just keep on building it now I'm looking at all the companies that I have. I'm watching for their dips so that I can average out better and just keep building my portfolio from there.
Wow. So to me, it seems like you've absolutely nailed this thing. Like, it sounds like you hit the nail on the head. Like, it's so funny. People take years to realize that, they get sucked into the exciting thing and they're playing the trading game and whatnot. When, I mean, as I will say time and time again, to do investing properly, it shouldn't necessarily be the most flashy thing. It shouldn't be that exciting. It's doing the same things consistently over and over again. And knowing that you're, basically on the right path. That's how you generate wealth over a number of decades, right? And that's just so, I truly say it. I'm really proud to hear that, Michelle. That is awesome. That's great. And yeah, thank you so much for all the kind words. Maybe here's a question. I'm taking it off investing for a moment. What should the other students know about you? What do you like? Obviously, we know your work life, but what do you do in your spare time? Any hobbies? Like, what do people should know about you?
Well, I mean, in my spare time, it's kind of, I have two kids, 2 young kids, and
they probably take up a lot of time chilling. And
I mean, they're getting more independent now. They're like 13 and 11 years old. So it's kind of, it's nice. And so I'm just kind of in this process of figuring out what do I want to do and where do I want to go. And, more and more, like, you've inspired me. It's like, watching you build this course, it's like, okay, this is something that I want to do. This is
Yeah,
something that I want to teach. I want to teach folks how to be an entrepreneur
you said that
because
right off the bat. Yeah.
it's so, we are in such an age where everybody has the opportunity.
Mhm.
Everybody has the opportunity to do their own thing.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as loyalty anymore. I mean, we all saw it when COVID, I think, brought so many things up to warp speed in what has been missing. And, you know, I think the the age of working for a company for 40 years and having a pension and retiring is no longer exists.
I agree.
Take the, you know, take this advantage, and it doesn't matter what age you are. I
Yeah.
started a company 6 years ago, and it wasn't, you know, I I had good jobs, but I just was like, I need to do something different. So
Yeah.
now I'm just kind of in this process of figuring that out, and
Yeah.
just how can I teach others? And in particular, it's kind of, for me, it's this course has given me the confidence to go and bring, I think we need to change the mindset for a lot of folks in that, you know, you may have been told that you're bad with money, or you're bad with investing, or you're bad with this or that. You need to change the mindset in that, okay, now that I have this knowledge, I can do this. I can take control of my own money and I can go forward.
Yeah, that's I 100% agree with you there. I'm glad that our program is able to, like, you can draw some inspiration from that, because yeah, I caught that when you said it right at the beginning of the chat. You said, "Hey, times are changing. It's a different playing field now." And you said entrepreneurship right off the bat. I don't know if you caught like the full last spotlight we did with Michelle, the other Michelle, and she was in a very similar situation. She had a flower shop, and she said, you know, when COVID hit, you adapt or you die, almost, in a sense, right?
Totally.
And like that's what you said with the clients you work with.
Yeah.
It's such a pivotal point, I think, right now, with the digital side of thing, with technology, with how easy it is to go out and, you know, for example, create a program. Like, now you've been through my program, I don't know if you take other ones, you could probably model a lot of things off what you know your niche is, whatever you want to teach. It's clearly a process that works, and you get to connect with people from all over the world. You know, we're Canada only, that's what we chose to do, but like that's what the internet has for you there. And that's just, I think that's so inspiring to hear. And again, I don't want to always be preaching investing, but in a funny way, like, this is the way my mind works. You talked about like the importance of like starting early with investing and just getting started and just dollar cost averaging and doing the right things. I almost draw that comparable to the same as starting an online business or doing, you know, entrepreneurship, right? You started your business 6 years, you could have just wasted time thinking about it and doing it, but rather you went out and did it, and now
Yeah.
you are seeing the results, right? The same goes for saying, hey, I want to create an online program, whatever. It's like you get the information, you make sure you do it properly, but it's very like similar principles, right? At the end of the day, that's the way I think, at least.
100%. I mean, I'm always, it's not, I mean, it's not good, but I'm always looking for ways to monetize things. I mean,
That's,
the
I
way
think it's a good thing. That's what you said. You're entrepreneur minded. That's not a bad thing at all.
any business starts is, you know, you have a problem, you find a solution.
Mm.
And it doesn't mean, you know, as well, I think it doesn't ever mean that as an entrepreneur, you're going to be a millionaire. You're going to build your company to be a millionaire.
Mm.
You can just start a company to pay your bills. You
Mhm.
can start a company to make it a side hustle. You don't need to be the next Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, you know, Elon Musk, whatever. Like, you just need to start and
Mhm.
need to just take that step, because sometimes when you're given the opportunity to rise to the occasion, you got to rise.
Wow, this is to me, this is inspiring. Like this, I mean, clearly, I run my own business here online, and for the past, like, you know, 3.5 years, this has been my mindset, and it's so nice to like connect with people that have a similar drive, right? You know, it may not be for everybody out there, and some people, you know, you mentioned like, yeah, the traditional 9 to 5 for your entire life is getting outdated. Some people are built for that, and I know people who actually, you know, like, I have friends who work in like the trade space and whatnot, and they're just happy saying, I make a good income. I'm gonna work my 5 days. I get my weekends off to do my thing, and like that's good for them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, especially if that's for your personality. But then you have these other people who just have this drive to do more, and as you mentioned, it's an exciting time right now, I'd say overall.
It is. It is.
Well, Michelle, I like, geez, I don't really know what other questions to ask. One question I am thinking, where are you from, first of all? What province here in Canada?
So I'm actually born and raised in Richmond.
In Richmond.
Yeah, I live in
BC.
Steaston.
No kidding. Oh my gosh. That is just like, that's 5 minutes from here. Okay, wow. That caught me by surprise. No
Yeah.
kidding.
And I think you actually, you might know my husband, JP.
Okay, this is okay. This is starting to make sense now. This is starting to make sense now. Okay.
Yeah.
That's that's a blunder on my part for not connecting the dots there. But okay.
Okay.
So he's good friends with
In this,
Ed, Mark.
when I had the phone call with your brother Jesse,
Yeah.
he was like at
Did
the
you
end
know?
after, because I don't, I did this for me. I did this for myself. I wanted, like I say, I wanted to make income while I slept. I wanted to get rid of this kryptonite and this thing that's been on my shoulder for, 20 years of my, so long of my career. And I was like, I'm just going to do this.
Yeah.
So I phoned when I talked with Jesse and, had a good conversation. Yep, here we go. We're going forward. Okay, good. And then he texted me. He's like, and I guess because he had talked to your dad, Mark,
Probably
obviously.
recognize the name or something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he just is like, Mark's like, oh, and I was like, no, I'm doing this for me. And one thing I will say is that I don't think I don't know if people realize how much knowledge is coming from you and Mark. And outside of the academy, if we had, if I had attempted to go to you to be my CFP when you were, a certified financial planner, you probably wouldn't have been able to help me because my portfolio would not be the size that you would work with, right? And I think people need to remember that is that there is so much knowledge coming from you and Mark, and just that, that barrier is no longer there. And it's just the return on investment in this academy and in the, the items that are provided to you are huge.
Yeah.
And you can't, and that's the other side is that, a CFP, you just can't get that kind of knowledge from them. You can't go to them and, have your portfolio and try to build it up. So I think in some ways it's kind of doing them a favor because you're building your portfolio and you're getting it to a certain point where maybe you can work with a CFP, and then you go from there and you can build it even greater.
Mm-hmm. It's like that middle point, like that transitioning, that period. Because yeah, you're right. For those who are watching it and don't know, like it's quite common that when you work with a professional, they do have like a minimum that they would take on for a new client. And for some people that minimum can be much higher than others, but it does kind of leave a lot of people in that limbo area where it's like, I could go to the bank, if you go to your bank and you start with $1,000, you're not going to be getting the best service. But at the same time, unless you have like $1 million, multi-million-dollar portfolio, you may not be able to get the best service out there. But thank you for all the kind words there, Michelle. Because yeah, like it means a lot that you appreciate, the content my dad and I make, and it's yeah, we're happy to share it, and especially with the right people. Like YouTube is great. We give a lot of like even the YouTube channel alone. I feel we've been making there's hours and hours of content out there for people to learn for free. But especially when it comes to the academy, that's where we just take it a step deeper and try to really make sure that the students get what they're asking for, right?
Yeah. And that, and the thing is, when I first started this business, I mean, I had no clients for 6 months. I had nothing.
It is. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself 6 months. And then if it doesn't work, then I'll go back to public practice or go back to my contacts and work for a company, whatever. And so I just networked with friends and family. And one of the first doors, that opened for me was from Mark. And he introduced me to his business partner at the time, Lisa.
Yeah.
And I sat down and talked with her for an hour and kind of got what I wanted to do. And I always appreciated that from Mark.
Yeah.
And just, once I got my first client, then it kind of rolled from there.
Yeah.
But it's just an appreciation for just opening the door. And it's the same thing with this academy, is opening the door to build my portfolio, to, look at, okay, for me, I'm just building my RRSPs. And once I get to a certain point, then I'll start building my TFSAs. And I know it's kind of, usually it's suggested to go TFSA, RRSP. And I'm like, well, you know what? I don't need the money right now. And so I'm going for it.
Yeah, it's your situation. Yeah, not everyone's company pays them a match. Like it's all unique, right? And that's good on you for understanding that. That's so cool. I didn't know that story about Mark, and I'm sure I'll talk to him at some point today and I'll mention it, but it's really fascinating how things just all come around. It's just like almost like a full circle. And that's really, really cool to hear, Michelle.
Yeah, we actually head up to Powell River every single summer. I used to do that as a kid. I have family up in Powell River.
What is happening here? Like,
when I heard Mark and Jenny were moving up there, I was like, JP and I were just like, oh man.
Yeah.
But it's such a Powell River is such a great place. Like, my kids love it. We go to a spot called Kent's Beach. It's right on the beach. And, it's such a beautiful country. Yeah. We live in such a beautiful place. Yeah. And yes, right now, that's the other side right now, is just with these floods.
Yeah.
My clients, none of them they aren't directly affected by the floods. But I know all of us are going to be affected by the floods, in the fact that we've lost transportation chains.
I just went to the grocery store. They didn't have any white. They only had brown eggs. Not that it mattered, but we all are feeling the impact in some way or another. That's so true.
And I truly believe, it is going to affect every single business right now. I'm thankful, the businesses that I work with, they've been working down.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, they're finally getting their footing, and I know they're going to come back stronger. But it's kind of like it's like a punch in the gut every time. And I have family who live in Merritt, and fortunately, their house, they were on higher ground, but they're still affected. And yeah. I hope, BC, we are this amazing province. And I hope that, we all of us are in it together, and we're going to make it better.
Wow. That's deep. I love that. Yeah, it's a crazy time, but we're all in it together, I think, really is a great way of kind of summarizing there.
And that's the thing too, with this academy, the community that is there with the Discord,
yeah.
I'm not as active as some on the Discord, but I am looking at it all the time. And it, kind of this morning, it's kind of funny, the whole Baba, everyone's like, whoa.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think it's just, you just got to remember, this isn't a short-term day trader, penny stocks kind of academy. This is long-term. This is looking out beyond tomorrow. And so you got to remember that. And I think, and that's what I always kind of go back to, is just looking at the trend analysis of the company, looking at the trend line of the stock.
Yeah.
And you can see it. You can see the picture. And it's like, and especially, the part in your lessons where you talked about, you can see the bottom outline and the kind of the top line. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm always looking for. So
absolutely, it's just opening it's a mind frame shift from, hey, what's happening now, to like, what are these things telling us, right? what are the big picture things we see? And it's both from a chart perspective and finding those, lines that may be indicating something, but as well as just having the right frame of mind. Like you said, finding companies that are gonna be here in 10 years, finding companies that we know are proven to be successful or have histories of it. So yeah, you've clearly picked up the information so well, Michelle. And yeah, I will just say, really, thank you for taking the time to chat. This is an awesome spotlight. I can't believe how many people have ties to Powell River. We live just 5 minutes away. I'm by the Walmart, kind of in like Garden City area. So it's more central, I guess. But yeah, that's Houston. We're always down there. So that's so awesome.
Yeah. No, it's, you know what? I mean, Richmond is such a funny town because it's kind of like the 6 degrees of separation. It's like you can always find something,
Oh, yeah.
no matter where you go, who's from Richmond. And, it was a great place to grow up. And, my parents, I've got a couple of siblings, who still live here, and we're all entrepreneurs. My dad retired early. He was a police officer for 30 years. My mom was a legal secretary, and they both retired early, and they too themselves became entrepreneurs in their early retirement.
Oh.
And so it's kind of rubbed off on all of us. And,
sure.
My dad is originally from Australia, so I have half my family who live there, and it's kind of, I don't know, being an entrepreneur. Didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family, but now all of us are.
That's too funny. Yeah.
Doing our thing, and I think it's something I want to teach to my kids. I've even said, and I know it's some people might, a lot of people might disagree with it, but I've said to my kids, don't go to university unless it's for something specific. It needs to be, an investment in itself. Like that's how I look at anything that I do. Is this an investment for my knowledge or for myself or for going forward? And I am so glad that I did invest into the academy and just taking this course, because again, it's given me that confidence to go forward with my own personal financial life, but as well as with my clients. And always, I'm always looking for ideas and how to help them.
Yeah.
So that they're moving forward and they're able to just make those strides in this economy, because it's constantly changing.
Yeah.
And you have to you have to
guide. Yeah. That's amazing. Well, I'm sure everybody that watched this spotlight, like they will be able to see like the growth mindset that you have. I'm sure I have full confidence. If you have a family of entrepreneurs, that's going to get passed down. That there's no question. It will rub off whether you actively do that or not. I know, like my dad, I didn't know what he did for the longest time. I just knew he did his own thing. He's like, oh, he's doing business. What is it? And it just rubs off on you, right? Now Jesse's doing his own things, and it's so crazy to think like that traditional advice of going to university, and that's just how it is. It's black and white. You go to school, you do it. It's really cool, in my opinion, to see certain people, breaking that chain of thought, because a lot of people could get stuck in their old ways and not change. In fact, I know so many people of my peers who's so pressured to go to university, even nowadays, just for getting that degree, when they don't even end up using it. You're, at least to me, and I'm sure the viewers can see, like the viewers of this video will be able to pick on it too. Your mindset, as in and of itself, is adapting and taking what the world is giving us, and I think that is just the name of the game in investing in life and everything. So that's I love to hear that, Michelle.
Yeah, you got to let your faith be greater than your fear. And you have to just start.
Yeah.
And like you say, the analysis paralysis.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
You got to make a decision. You got to move forward.
Wow.
And that's how you're going to make things happen. You got to make a decision.
Yeah, you got to move. You got to grow. Otherwise, you're going to stay probably in the exact same spot. Well, awesome, Michelle. We're going here for a little while, so why don't we wrap up? Again, I will just say thank you so much for taking the time. Absolute pleasure chatting. And yeah, this is just a very, very exhilarating chat for me. I love having these conversations. And thank you for all the kind words that you've shared about the academy, what my dad's doing. I will certainly pass everything on to him. And when he sees this, he'll know exactly what it's all about. But yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Michelle. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. Thanks, Brandon.
Bye.
Bye.